Well, good day and welcome to another segment of Fly Fishing Pass It On. Today we're going to talk about the diet of a trout and other species found in rivers, lakes, and streams. It's very important that you understand the entomology, the food sources for these fish, and how to retrieve the flies to properly imitate their movement and fish the right zones of the. So we'll start here with like there's caddis flies. Basically, they have the wings are tent wings, kind of a tent style over their back. Caddis are found in rivers and lakes. The caddis pupa is very much a good food source to replicate in fish in many situations. And then when you have a caddis hatch, you're going to have a lot of fish up top. Definitely a hatch they don't want to miss. So you want to make sure you check out the color and the size and make sure you match the hatch that way. Some of the caddis patterns I know when I'm fishing dry flies, I'll twitch the fly a little bit, and I get a lot of hits there. If you just leave it kind of static, you'll get an eat there too, but I find just giving it a little twitch really helps. And for fishing a sedge pattern, or the traveling sedge, which is a caddis family, is they're going to be moved even more. They'll want to kind of almost skate them. Then we have the mayflies, which are the pretty little dry flies you see. They have wings, upright wings. They kind of look like little sailboats. They're very pretty flies. Those are, anywhere from small little blue wing olives or tricos, all the way up to hexagenias, which are big, long dry fly. They all look the same. The mayflies, again, have all the same style, body style, and that. It's just going to be different colors and sizes to be mindful of. So if you're going to a river that has especially, like say, green drakes or brown drakes or whatever, then you're going to know the size on these hatch charts. So follow the hatch charts and get your patterns that you need to match the situation when you get to the other end. So you want to have the right flies in your box. Also, there's chironomids or midges. In England, they call them buzzers, which are basically, they look like mosquitoes. They're found in mostly lakes and slow water. They'll start with bloodworms on the bottom of the lake. Will be there all year long, and you can target them with flies to imitate that. And they'll start ascending up in the water column throughout much of the year in many water bodies. And I know there's some anglers that are predominantly just chironomid fishermen, and they fish that pretty much all year long and do quite well with them. So you'll want to make sure you get a throat pump to get samples from fish and know what the colors and sizes are on. You're going to want to be quite selective when you're fishing chironomids. The shrimp and scuds are found in lakes, and they are a very great food source for big trout, or any trout really. There's a lot of calories in shrimp. Those lakes can be very tough to fish. These fish go along just like I would say a Pac-Man. They don't have to hunt. They are just in the weeds really tight, and they'll be right in the weed beds or just on the outside. You can target these fish, and they'll be just continuously just filter feeding on them and be jam-packed full of shrimp. And so they can be a hard lake to fish. You make sure your patterns are the right size and color or thereabouts. You can have a little orange bead or head on them or something like that. A little orange in your patterns also help, and they can be a little short. You can almost fish them static under a cork. I've done that near a weed bed, pretty effective. You can strip them in 2-inch, 4-inch pulls, sometimes even rip them faster than the actual shrimp do operate to get a bite, and they will be on them. If you get into shrimp patterns and the right area, you can have a pretty good day out there, but those fish can be very tough too. It can be unforgiving as well. So be mindful of that. A lot of lakes or whatever, rivers do have certain species of insects that are a little more prominent. So, here's another one, like you have water boatmen. I know some lakes that have quite a large population of water boatmen. I really enjoy fishing the water boatman patterns because the trout can feed on them all year long, but especially in the fall when they have the mating flight where they go back off to the the trees and the bush, and they're mating, and then they have the mating flights. And those water boatmen come back into a lake. You'll see a lake where it's pretty flat or still water, and all of a sudden you'll see these little look like droplets of rain. That's actually the water boatmen coming back and just plunking into the water, and then they go down, straight down, they wiggle straight down, and they ascend straight up to get another bubble of air. And they're airborne, they actually have air with them. So we replicate that on our patterns, and I fish them mostly with the clear intermediate line, and I use a two hand twist and a pause. And usually the water boatman will hit it on the pause, and they hammer it, they hit it hard. Damsels are another good food source. They'll be traveling from the deeper water into the shoreline to crawl out on reeds, and that to hatch. So they have to dry their wings out before they can fly, and they'll be crawling up those reeds. And so that is an area you want to be probably better off be fishing from the bank and throwing to the deep water and retrieving towards shore. Or if you're in a boat, park your shore near the boat, near the shoreline, and fish from out towards the bank. Otherwise, because they don't travel from the bank outwards, you're going against the grain on that feeding rhythm, and the fish would know that as well. Dragonflies are another great source of food for especially big trout. These dragon nymphs are on the bottom of the lake year-round, crawling along real slow. They kind of have a little short burst of air that they push out of the back of their abdomens. And a lot of fly anglers don't fish dragon patterns. When there's nothing really much going on, that's my go-to. Is I'll take a fly line that'll get me right to the bottom of the lake. If it's 30, 40 feet, whatever the case may be, depends on the clarity of the lake. And if I know there's dragonflies in that lake, because you'll see the dragons, when they're out, they crawl out too, like the damsels, and you'll see the nice big flies, and those big dragon nymphs is a meal. And the way those trout they'll either eat them two different ways. They'll just rip that rod right out of your hand. They'll be very voracious on the grab, or sometimes they just suck them up, because they say the dragons bite them, and they do have teeth, and the trout will suck them up, and they just kind of carry them away. They don't bite on them really. I don't know how that, but there's two different ways they do eat, and you'll have two different takes. And I've seen where the line will be traveling. You can watch your line moving, and when you see that, set the hook, because you'll have a fish with a big dragonfly nymph in his mouth. And you'll catch some of the best fish you've ever caught on dragon nymphs down the bottom. Now on the opposite end of the spectrum, you'll have something called daphnia, or they're like water lice. They're very, very minute. You're not going to have flies that size that'll work, but you can fish these blob patterns that have got the material on there to kind of imitate a glob of daphnia. And you can see on this picture that it's kind of just glob of floating zooplankton, if you will. That's basically what you can describe them as. And those fish are really on them. There's a lot of good food source for these trout, and so a way to target them is with the blobs. So that's a good way to catch them. Stoneflies and salmon flies are probably one of the most sought after hatches you're ever going to experience. If you're into dry fly fishing, that is prime time, and it's go time. Every big fish in the river is going to be up looking at them, and they do just belong in moving water. And those big nymphs, they crawl out on the rocks by the shore, and then they dry out on the rocks as they crawl out on shore, and then they hatch. And when they hatch, it's major, and it's go time. If you can arrange your trips with salmon flies or a stonefly hatch, you will never forget the trip, because they're very, very exciting. Every fish is up, looking up and ready to eat. I was on the Madison, I believe it was, where we had a hatch one day. You could hardly breathe. There were so many stoneflies. It was awesome. There was actually salmon flies, was what they were. Now there's other sorts of food. There are terrestrials, there's beetles, which is something that a lot of anglers don't even consider. I've got, like my Brent's Premier is a pattern that will look like a beetle. I've used it a lot. It's been a great pattern over the years. And they're in the water all year long. So fish some beetle patterns in there. It's a good opportunity. Another food source that's in lakes all year long is leeches, which is another great pattern to be fishing all year long. You're going to catch some big fish on that. I've got a separate segment on how to fish leech patterns. You want to check that out on my podcast here. And then if you're up in the mountains, there's ants, flying ants, red ants, black ants. You might find them in some lakes as well, and they don't really like to key in on them. They have something that works in their stomachs that for acid. I don't know the whole story on that right now, but it's actually a very sought after food source for them. So if you're on a stream, for example, and they're not taking any of the other dry flies you're throwing at them, they're trying an ant pattern. That'll usually work. It's something that you want to be mindful of. Then there's, you get into rivers, there's worms, like we use San Juan worms and other kind of worms. They're definitely on the menu there for sure. One of my favorite dry fly times of year is grasshoppers. A big juicy grasshopper. There's a chunk of meat for a good fish, and you can catch them on lakes or rivers. And you'd be throwing them close to the banks on rivers and lakes. You can, they blow in from the shore, and those fish are looking up. When they get to eat one of those, they'll be looking all day long. They'll be watching and looking for more hoppers to be blown in. When I cast a hopper pattern, I like to kind of splat it down on the water, and then I'll twitch it with my rod tip. I give a few twitches, and they like that animation on that pattern. Then one of my favorites is bait fish. They just, if you've got a lake or a river where they're eating bait fish, you'll be looking at all kinds of bait fish flies in different lakes. They're going to be different colors, sizes. It depends on where you're at, so you want to make sure you check out what kind of bait fish are in there. And then you have the sculpins and rivers and so forth. That is one of the best streamer flies you're going to be throwing in for some very large, hungry trout. So there's other couple sorts of food like snails. I've never thought of using snails, and I was guiding a group of guys on the lakes one time, and we weren't doing very well. It was tough, and there was a guy who went down to the rocks on the dam, and he was one fish after another. I had to go, what are you using? What's up? And he was fishing snails. He said they will come on those rocks. And I've tried snail patterns since in case that happens again, and I've seen it since. But it's pretty rare. So it's interesting kind of learn all the different food sources that are out there and what these fish will be feeding on. So get to know your adversary, your trout, where they like to eat, where they like to live, their surroundings, and also their food source. And once you start putting those three factors all together, I don't care if you're just a newcomer, you're going to become a real accomplished angler real quick. So concentrate on that.
Thanks for watching Brent's fly fishing instructional series. He can be found on Brent's YouTube channel and Sport Fishing on the Fly.